A good Erev Shabbos, everyone. This is Moshe Taragin from the Gush, from Eretz Yisrael. And I want to thank David for honoring me with giving this Dvar Torah, wherever you are, listening to Torah coming from Eretz Yisrael, especially during this time in our history, and we all know this is a moment in history. Every part of the attire of the Kohanim is iconic, and it's symbolic of something larger, and even if you're not a Kohen, even if you're not a Kohen Gadol, most of us are neither, there still are messages about religious consciousness, messages about Jewish identity, the colorful clothing of the Kohen, the glory, the majesty of the Big Day Kahuna. We have all rallied over the last couple months around the different color, the color green, the glorious green of our soldiers who, for the first time in history, have soldiers to protect us and to defend us. And this is the first pogrom in history that has been followed by a war. There are two parts of the Kohen Gadol's attire that are very, very literally interconnected. He wore two large gemstones on his shoulders. They're called the Avnei HaEphod. And those gemstones had the names of the Shvatim, of the 12 tribes, inscribed on them. And he also wore a plate across his chest. And on that plate, which was known as the Choshen, there were 12 smaller stones embedded in the gold plate. And those stones had the names of the respective Shvatim engraved upon them. And the Torah describes each of these stones, these big gemstones that have the names of the Shvatim, and these smaller stones that have the names of the Shvatim, as Avnei Zikaron, so that Hashem will look at these stones and remember our people. And of course, we need as many good, favorable memories from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as we can get during this time, which we look to Shemaim, with a lot of questions and a lot of question marks and a lot of perplexing issues, but we know that one day we'll have clarity, and until that day we have faith. And Hashem looks at those stones and remembers His people. And of course Hashem doesn't have to look at the stones to remember His people. Hashem doesn't need something to jog His memory. It's for us to imagine as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking at the stones and remembering Am Yisrael, so that if we imagine as if Hashem is remembering the needs of Am Yisrael, we will remember the needs of Am Yisrael. So it's a reflexive. We're creating stones for Hashem to look at, so that Hashem will remember our needs, so that we'll remember our needs. And the way that you serve Am Yisrael's needs, and we all have thought about that over the last couple of months, is both by carrying Am Yisrael's needs on your shoulders literally, and we know how much weight we've all been carrying literally and figuratively, starting from the soldiers and the Chayalim who are literally carrying extra weight, extra baggage, extra ceramic vests, bulletproof vests that Baruch Hashem have been flowing in from the entire world. How much, let's just think of myself over the last couple of months. I haven't served in Gaza, but all the work that we've had to do on the home front, both as a teacher, as a father, as a grandfather, but you're not always in a position in which you can carry on your shoulders. But you can always carry them on your heart. And the Avnei Choshen, the Kohen Gadol, carry the needs of our people both on his shoulders and in his heart. So we've all tried to find ways to carry Am Yisrael's burden during the last couple of months. Some have had greater opportunity for shoulder carrying and bearing. Some have had less opportunity just because of where you live and your situation. But everyone has the capacity, and everyone has, each in their own way. It's harder at a distance to cry, I know, but I know the sleepless nights haven't been limited to Alon Shvat or to Modi'in or to Chashmonaim, but there have been sleepless nights in Melbourne and sleepless nights in Perth and sleepless nights in Sydney and sleepless nights in London, sleepless nights in many, many places across this earth, and a lot of sympathy and a lot of tears. Even if those tears haven't reached the eyelids, they're still recognized by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they're still Avnei Zikaron. And I know a lot of you listening to this may be joining the Kosher Travelers Pesach programs in various places. Maybe yes, maybe no. Not everyone's going to have to come. And obviously this year will be very, very powerful charged emotions for us on Pesach, wherever we are. And we're starting the march to Pesach. We're closing in towards the midpoint of Adar Aleph. Tomorrow is actually Purim Katan. And Mirz Hashem, Adar Beis brings Purim, which is a prelude to Pesach. The stones that were on the shoulders of the Kohen, those stones had the names of the Shvatim written, as the Torah writes, Kitolu Dosam, the way they were born, not the way that we commonly refer to them. And the two practical differences were that they were listed 6 on each shoulder gemstone, but by the way they were born, the sequence of their birth, not necessarily the arrangement in the midbar or the arrangement in the population. So it was Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Dan, Naphtali. Those were the first 6 to be born on one side and the others on the other side. And also, it's a little detail about Binyamin. When Binyamin was born, his name is written with an extra Yud. Beis, Nun, Yud, Mem, Yud, Nun, as opposed to the way we typically refer to Binyamin. We don't write the Yud between the Mem and the Nun in the end, but on the Avnei Shoham, the names are written Kitol Dotam, Kitol Dosam, the way they were born. And Binyamin's name was written with the extra Yud. And essentially there's this tension and healthy dynamic and complementary dynamic between the stones on the breastplate, the stones on the Choshen, which is the way we refer to the Shvatim, what I would call the contemporary Shevet that you belong to in the desert, or when you saw that stone light up on the Choshen, your deep identification with your Shevet, with your tribe, with your community, whether it's Naphtali or Dan or Yehuda or Shimon. And then Hashem also wants us not just to identify with the Shvatim in the Midbar, but with the people who forged Jewish history in Sefer Bereshis. And those are not the tribes, but people. Mr. Dan, Mr. Naphtali, Mr. Yehuda, not the tribe of Yehuda. So the Choshen carried the Shevet, shoulders carried the people. And the Mirz Hashem will think about all the people who built our nation, and thinking about our history and our legacy and the people who built our nation, and the modern day people who are now building our nation once again in the modern era, rebuilding our nation. We have the privilege to be the architects of history. We have the privilege to live through this moment of time. Every decision we take will be the story that will be told for future generations. Our pictures will hang on walls, and one day those pictures will tell a story. We hope that that story will be one of bravery, courage, faith, fortitude, and emunah. I'm sure it will be. As we start this process, think a little bit over Shabbos about carrying weight and carrying emotions. Think about identifying with Jewish communities that are contemporary, like the stones on the Choshen, but also Jewish communities of our past and our legacy, and our trip back into history, the Odyssey, which will begin in a few weeks. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and thank you for being part of this community. And Mirz Hashem, we should see each other soon, only for simchos and only for good occasions. Shabbat Shalom.